page 16 at number 33. Maybe 32, where we are stating as a regulator that Career 5 and All Power, which created an additional deficit in addition to the 270 megawatts of an additional 200, which made 200 megawatts, which made the system very unstable. Chair and honorable members, due to the under-frequency load shedding operated but was not sufficient to arrest the frequency dip due to now a loss of a cumulative 477 megawatts of generation. At the time, Chair and honorable members, we did only have a spinning reserve of 66 megawatts against a projected spinning reserve of 109 megawatts to compensate for the loss of generation. That further exacerbated the situation that was at hand, Chair and honorable members. Chair, moving on to number 17, these are the actions and the specific question that has been asked of us as the regulator, the actions that we've taken so far as the regulator and the possible breaches of contracts and negligence arising out of the outage of several power plants and our various PPAs, power purchase agreements. Chair, I've already stated that we did write on the 31st of August to our licensees to provide for us detailed reports. We did receive these reports on the 8th of September, and we have analyzed them, and this is a preliminary report which we are tabling before this Honourable House. As per Chair, Section 166 of the Energy Act, we are analysing that data and the impact that this blackout had to the Kenyan economy and the action that we shall be taking in terms of regulatory action on the culpable licensees in accordance with the provisions of the PP and the Grid Code. Chair and honourable members, I wish to state that our position as the regulator, that we may be able to take regulatory action that may not be limited to one of the following. The first would be one of a monetary nature, which could include clawback of revenue requirements on the basis of the impact of the blackouts, and this will be determined once we are able then to establish the root cause of this incident. On average, on the day, we did lose power as an economy for about 19 hours and 22 minutes. This is on average about 37,000 megawatt hours consumption on a daily basis. Further, in addition to that monetary clawback that which is available to us to employ, Section 11A of the Energy Act also empowers us as the authority to issue, renew, modify, suspend, or revoke licenses and permits for all undertakings and activities in the energy sector. In this regard, we wish to confirm to you, Chair and honourable members, that we will not hesitate as an authority to take the appropriate action once the investigations into this incident are concluded and culpable licensees also identified. Chair and honourable members, in addition, the provisions of Section 126B of the Energy Act gives us as an authority the power to suspend and revoke licenses where we are satisfied that a licensee either willfully or negligently did not operate in accordance with the terms and conditions of their license, the provisions of this Energy Act or regulations that have been made thereunder. I wish to confirm to this Honourable House that the authority is investigating any breach of the license conditions, including the grid code, before determining the appropriate actions against the liable entities. Chair, I just want to issue a rider, and this is captured in 44, that the enforcement and regulatory actions that I've spoken to previously shall only be undertaken in accordance with the rule of law, having following due process, including issuance of notices to show cause, once culpability has been conclusively determined. Chair and honourable members, from a perspective of the regulator, some of the areas, and the Cabinet Secretary has already spoken to this, where we as a regulator are making certain recommendations and interventions. One is for the system operator. Currently, that function is being undertaken by KPLC to get to the bottom and conclusively establish the root cause of the initial system disturbance and to come up with clear mitigation measures to ensure there is no reoccurrence of the same. This is the mandate and the function of the system operator. Second, we are asking as a regulator that our licensees, this is the generator Electricana Wind Power Plant, Ketraco, KPLC, and the other generators to jointly reconcile the protection grading of Electricana Wind Power Plant in accordance with the grid code and the system requirements. The system operator as well should liaise with other generators to reconcile the generator operation range and protection settings in line with the grid code. Chair and honourable members, our other recommendation is that KPLC should relinquish the system operation functions to Ketraco immediately in order to comply with the requirements of the Energy Act and the designation of Ketraco as a system operator by us as the regulator, which happened in December 2021, but is yet to be effected. We also of the view that the transmission system operator should carry out a Kenya electricity system study to take care of the changes in the interconnected power system since the last study, which was conducted in 2012, to identify system operational gaps and constraints. Further, Chair and Honourable Members, the transmission system operator to relook at the under-frequency load shedding settings as well, and the Kenya Transmission Electricity Company, KETRACO, to expedite the repair of the damaged towers of the Lungailani-Suswa line and restore the double-circuit operation of the line. KETRACO should also consider operating the line at the designated voltage of 400 kV. Further, Chair and Honourable Members, we are of the view that KETRACO should expedite the completion of the pending transmission projects meant to improve power evacuation, reliability and flexibility. Chair and Honourable Members, from a security of supply standpoint, it is the regulator's view that we need to fast-track the development of new generation capacity as envisaged in the Least Cost Power Development Plan 2022-2041. We, as the regulator, also have been able to conduct a study called the Auxiliary Services Study that looks to shoring up and strengthening our grid. We, as the regulator, are committing that we'll be able to implement the recommendations of that Auxiliary Services report with your support. We also, as a regulator, are committing to scale up the frequency and the level of detail of the technical audits of all our licensees to ensure that they comply, one, with their licensing conditions, two, with the provisions of the grid code, the Act and the attendant regulations to ensure that similar occurrences do not occur in the future. Lastly, Chair and Honourable Members, we shall also commit, once we have conclusively concluded these investigations, to ensure that culpability and enforcement and regulatory action is taken in accordance with the rule of law, and that the recommendations of the sector, as led by the Cabinet Secretary, are implemented to ensure that we improve and shore up our system. Chair, I submit.